Submerged Qur'an found. Marine biologist's life-changing discovery. Imagine diving into the ocean and finding a Qur'an, perfectly preserved, untouched by water, as if it had been waiting centuries for you to discover it. A marine biologist who never believed in God found exactly that, and it changed his life forever. This isn't just a story about a book under the sea. It's a story about Allah's promise, His power, and His guidance. Stay until the end, because what happens will give you goosebumps. In the middle of the vast Indian Ocean, where the blue waters stretch endlessly and the silence beneath the waves carries its own secrets, a young marine biologist named Dr. Zain Malik dedicated his life to studying corals, sea creatures, and underwater ecosystems. Born in Canada to a family that identified as cultural Muslims but rarely practiced, Zain grew up with little attachment to faith. Science was his world, and the ocean became his sanctuary. For him, the mysteries of the deep sea were enough to fill his heart with awe, yet he never linked that awe back to the Creator. It was in his mid-30s that he received a research grant to explore a little-known region off the coast of the Maldives, an area rumored to have shipwrecks dating back centuries. For him, it was a chance to publish papers, make new discoveries, and gain recognition among international scientists. But he had no idea that this expedition would change his life forever. The first week was routine: coral mapping, fish census, and photographing rare sea turtles. But one morning, as the golden sun pierced the horizon and his diving team prepared to descend, local fishermen approached him. They spoke in hushed voices, telling him about a strange place under the sea. They said that for decades, divers had spoken of something unusual resting among the ruins of a sunken ship. The fishermen claimed that they felt a kind of energy, a pull, whenever they passed over it, but few dared to go near. Most laughed it off as legend, but the sincerity in their eyes intrigued Zain. Driven by curiosity, Zain and his assistant plunged into the ocean, guided by the locals' directions. They swam past corals shaped like twisted sculptures, schools of shimmering fish scattering like jewels, and shadows of wreckage looming in the distance. Then, as their torchlights cut through the dim green haze of the ocean floor, Zain's heart nearly stopped. There, nestled between broken planks of a shipwreck and tangled ropes of seaweed, lay a book. It was not eaten away, not destroyed by salt, not torn apart like every other piece of fabric and paper that had long decayed. It was whole. Its pages were untouched, its script clear, its forms strangely resistant to the very water that should have ruined it centuries ago. With trembling hands, Zain brought it closer. He brushed away sand and coral dust. The letters were in Arabic, beautiful, precise, unblurred by water. Though he was not fluent in Arabic, he recognized one word, repeated on the first page: Allah. His heart began to pound. He surfaced with the book cradled in his arms like a newborn child, the team staring in disbelief. How could a book survive underwater, intact and uncorrupted? Back on the ship, they laid it out. The pages glistened as though freshly printed. The ink had not smudged, the binding was not broken, and it gave off a faint fragrance that no one could explain. When the locals heard, they rushed to the shore to see it. Many wept. "This is the Quran," an old man whispered, his voice shaking. "Allah has preserved His word, just as He promised." He then recited the verse: "Indeed, it is we who sent down the Quran, and indeed, we will be its guardian." Surah Al-Hijr 15:9. Zain froze. The words echoed in his mind. Could it be? Was this miracle a sign? For years he had dismissed religion, believing only in what could be measured and tested. But here was something that defied all scientific explanation. No paper, no leather binding, no ink could resist salt water for even a few weeks, let alone centuries. Yet this book sat in his hands, as though time and tide had bowed before it. That night, Zain could not sleep. He sat under the stars, the Quran resting beside him, feeling a weight press upon his heart. He opened at random. His eyes fell on the verse. "And He found you lost and guided you." Surah Ad-Duha 93:7. His breath caught. It felt as though these words were addressed directly to him. Over the next days, Zayn secluded himself, diving deep into translations of the Quran, speaking to local scholars, and listening to recitations. Each verse pierced him like lightning. The Quran spoke not as a history book or poetry, but as a living voice calling him, comforting him, guiding him. For the first time in his life, he felt that the universe was not empty chance, but filled with purpose, love, and design. The preservation of the Quran in the depths of the sea became his turning point. He remembered the verse that Muslims often quoted, but he had always ignored. If all the oceans were ink for writing the words of my Lord, the oceans would be exhausted before the words of my Lord were exhausted. Surah Al-Kahf 18:109. Here he was, a man of the ocean, realizing that the very sea he had worshipped silently was testifying to the power of Allah's word. In tears, one night under the crescent moon, Zayn whispered the Shahada, Ashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasul Allah. The fisherman embraced him, the scholars smiled with tears, and his life took a new path. He was no longer just a scientist of the sea. He was now a servant of the Creator who made the sea, who preserved his book against the impossible, and who preserved Zayn's heart from drowning in disbelief. News spread across media outlets. Some tried to dismiss it as a hoax, claiming it was impossible. But Zayn never sought fame. For him, the greatest miracle was not the book that survived water, but the heart that survived doubt. He dedicated his life thereafter to dua, speaking to young Muslims and non-Muslims, telling them his story. I searched the ocean for life, but the Quran gave me eternal life. I studied creation, but the Quran introduced me to the Creator. I was drowning in questions, but Allah lifted me with answers. Years later, when he returned to that ocean site, he prayed 2 rak'ahs on the deck, tears streaming into his beard. The sea no longer represented only science. It was now a reminder of Allah's promise, a reminder that no matter how deep one sinks, Allah can raise you. And every time he recited Quran, he remembered the Quran submerged in the sea, glowing against the darkness, preserved by Allah's mercy, a testament to faith against the tide of disbelief. Zayn's discovery became not just an archaeological wonder, but a living proof of the divine promise. And in the quiet moments, when he looked out at the endless waves, he whispered, Ya Allah, just as you preserved your book, preserve my Iman until I return to you. And thus, the story of the Submerged Qur'an was not only about a miracle under the sea, but about a man who was rescued from drowning in a life without Allah. Brothers and sisters, this story is a reminder that Allah's words are eternal, unshaken by time, water, or disbelief. Just like the Quran in the ocean, our faith too can be preserved if we hold tight to Allah's rope. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who might be searching for guidance. Don't forget to subscribe to Deen in Minute for more powerful stories that bring you closer to Allah. May Allah preserve your Iman, just as He preserved His book.